Hey there, Melvin here. As of this recording, today is Monday, October 24th, 2016. As you can see by the title, I'm giving my thoughts and opinions on Livescifi 72-hour live stream from the Zozo Demon House. Now, right from the start, I have to say I enjoyed it. The house itself had a very creepy vibe to it, particularly the stairs. Now, I'm seeing this from a video feed. Could you imagine actually being there in this dark, depressing place? I mean, the energy just seemed off, and those stairs were at the center of it, in my opinion. They're so narrow, and they would creak like crazy every time you go up and down. Jesus Christ. I mean, I honestly, if I lived there, I would have just somehow installed some type of elevator. I don't care if it would have cost $50,000. I would have done it to avoid the creaking. That's how bad the creaking is. The investigators, Tim Wood, Darren Evans, and Nicole, sorry, I don't know your last name, Nicole, so you're just the paranormal investigator known as Nicole. Anyway, they worked really well together. I thought they had pretty good chemistry, and they complemented each other. Throughout the 72-hour event, they had a couple of guests come in and experiment. A couple of guys from Machinima were there, cover video game stuff, and it was Brandon and Chloe, and they set up a type of VR 360 camera where you were able to see throughout the entire house, like in virtual reality. I guess you'd say VR, which is pretty cool. Chloe, she had to go into this closet for like 20 minutes. Oh man. Creepy. That entire house is weird. There's over there Help Me and Mama scratched in it, and the creaking of the stairs, then that basement, and for some reason bugs were just coming out everywhere. That alone would have freaked me out. Yes, I'm a guy, but I'm terrified of bugs. I can't stand them. I won't go out of my way to kill them, like if they're far away from me, but I just can't stand them. Jeez. But yeah, they were everywhere for some reason. They just came out the blue, and according to the investigators, they were like, these weren't here the other day. Where did they come from? You know? It's pretty bad. So who knows? Maybe it was Zozo summoning them and saying, "Ha, take this. I'm gonna creep you out." So whatever it was ugh. So another guest they had, her name is Bonnie. Again, I don't know her last name either. I guess I didn't catch it. She was most interesting because she had a very thick Texan accent. And if you live in the States, or shoot, even if you live outside of the U.S., for some reason, everyone seems to know a Texan accent. And that was thick. It was thick. And she was definitely from Texas. I mean, made sure everyone knew. But anyway, that's besides the point. I believe that she probably would have beat the mess out of Zozo if it manifested or something. Because she was just take no mess from nobody, take no prisoner. You look at me, I'm gonna slap you till you go back into your mama's womb. You know, like, not someone I want to tangle with. She seemed to just have a bit more feelings around the house than other people. And by that, I mean, it's like she was perhaps more sensitive to the energy. Not in a bad way. She wasn't freaking out or panicking. I mean, you know, she didn't react violently or anything like that. But I think she just felt more of the energy and the spirits that were there compared to everyone else outside of using the Ouija board. And she also had a coin with her that I noticed she would always hold on to. I don't know what the coin was, but there was an incident where, well, two incidents actually. One of them, the coin somehow like just dropped out of nowhere right under Chloe when they were doing this Ouija board session. And it was just like, what the? How did that happen? Where did this come from? Everyone's hands was on the board. No one threw it. It freaked everyone out. Freaked me out. I was like, yeah, yeah. It was just bizarre. But she seemed really cool and just open to the experience. And, it didn't get to her like it got to Chloe or Brandon, the guys from Machinima. They seem legit nervous and like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Why am I doing this? This is stupid. Basically what I would be like. Rose would probably be more like Bonnie and over there cursing it out. Now, all the Ouija sessions were different and interesting in some regard because it seemed like everyone, at least the three main investigators, Tim, Nicole, Darren, all got affected in some way. And I want to say that Tim, I don't know if he's listening or not, but he should have done a better job of letting the audience know that this is not a joke. Don't try this at home. This is real serious stuff. I feel he missed out a lot by not doing that because he knows, or at least he should know, that people at home who are watching, some are going to be kids or teens and they're going to be stupid and they're going to try and get that Ouija board or make a spirit board themselves and try and talk to this entity. While Tim did give warning on the final night that they were there, I don't recall, and again, I could have missed this, I could have recalled him giving a warning, telling people, this isn't a game, don't try and contact this being, or don't use these boards, I'm a professional, blah, blah, blah. I don't recall that in the other two games. It's somewhat disturbing, but at the same time I could understand, because when you're in the heat of the moment, you're just not thinking about certain things at the time. You're excited, you're ready to do the investigation. Sometimes you even forget the cameras are there, which brings me to this point. Man, it was cool seeing the 4-camera setup. It was the main room, the stairs. I hate those stairs. The basement and the hall or bedroom, excuse me. The cameras caught some pretty cool stuff. I mean, you were actually able to hear some growling. You saw some shadows, orbs, but my problem with orbs is sometimes it's actually bugs and dust, and it can be hard to figure out what's what, but in this case they were actually orbs. I mean, like, it was a part in there where Darren, he just decided to take the kitty gloves off, and I guess they were trying to provoke the spirits for responses, and he went to the top of those creepy stairs, and he had a crucifix. Did he have a crucifix? I actually don't recall. You know what? I'm getting that mixed up with the other day. He had a Virgin Mary candle, and went to the top of the stairs, and he was like, all right, let's do it, bro. Let's go. Man, he gave that thing an ear raping. My God. It was crazy. I mean, it was telling him, push me down the stairs, show me your power, blow out this candle. You know what? I'll blow the candle out, and you could do something in the dark. Do something. It was... I was like, oh man, he done lost his mind. Why are you doing this? But if you know Darren's past and his experiences in that house, and if you don't know, just watch our podcast where he made a guest appearance on. Very cool stuff. But anyway, if you know his past and what he's been through in that house, you'd understand that he probably had a lot of pent-up anger and nerves, and he had to confront this thing, because I don't think when he was initially there and he left, he never really got it out, and it's something that stays with you, and in a way I think this was a type of closure for him. Like, he just let that thing have it. I mean, good God, it scared me. It was like, ah. I think that's what happened, and I think it was actually good for him. I think it was therapeutic. But I was still thinking, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? But he proved the point to it that he wasn't scared, he wasn't backing down, and ultimately he won. The thing didn't do anything to him. Aside from the first day when it pushed his head back fairly hard, but other than that, it didn't do jack. I mean, Darren said, "Oh, I see you moving the curtains." Ooh, and I can feel your energy in the cold spots, but I want you to physically push me, It's like, not happening, bro. But I don't know, maybe that did stir him up a little bit because I believe that night, Nicole, like, she just kind of bugged out for a second. It was weird, but I'll get to that a little later. The team, they did EVPs, and they had some intelligent responses. Intelligent responses being that whatever they were speaking to actually responded directly to their questions. One of them being, is there a dead body buried here? Yes. Like, right away, very aggressive and loud. Like, you heard that thing. You couldn't miss it. Yes. They asked, how do you feel about Jesus Christ? And whatever entity it was called them a MFer, mother effer. It was like, oh, tell us how you really feel. So, yeah, whatever's there, it doesn't like Jesus too much. Now, this isn't exclusive to this particular investigation. This is just something in general I would love to see more paranormal investigators do. Talk about the tools that they're using. They never seem to talk about. I mean, they'll give a quick description. That's it. If you're hosting a live stream event and you have thousands of people watching and eventually it's going to multiply, I think you should give them some feedback and teach them what things are, what to do, what not to do, how to use this. For instance, holy water. Now, of course, holy water it seems self-explanatory, but it might be self-explanatory because you might be interested in the paranormal. You may have researched and looked into it, and it's like, oh, okay, but someone outside looking in who has an interest, but they know nothing about anything, won't know what holy water is exactly. Like, what is it? Do I just pray over water and stuff? I mean, it's not quite that simple. And I feel that I wish that they would have gone over what holy water is, what it does, and how to properly use it, as well as, I think Tim put on conjuring oil. I'm not entirely sure. I wish he spoke about that, and I wish he would have said what recorders they were using. There is one tool, like a bell and stuff. They did explain what that was. I wish they would have gone deeper with the explanation, especially of the holy water. I think that would have been cool, and that was a missed opportunity. As well as doing some research on the house. I mean, Darren took us through it. Out of everyone who was there, he probably knew the most about the place, but I wish they would have had an outside researcher or someone who doesn't necessarily have to be involved in the main investigation, but they're a runner. All they do is go research the names that pop up. They look at the dates on the house and try to match them, this and that, and talk about their findings. I think they should have done that. What they should have done was at night when they were doing their investigation and stuff like that, give the information to the runner and have him do some research throughout the day. It doesn't have to be deep research, but something. Have him and someone else come back into the house and actually talk about it while the investigation team is just resting up and stuff. And I think it would have been more exciting for the viewers, and it would have been a little bit less dull spots. And that way the people, they would have gotten some history to the house, and they would have, emotionally been more set in to see what happens. What answers are you going to get? I think that would have helped. So, Tim, I don't know if you're watching, but, that's something to think about for a future investigation. One of the other things that just freaked me out, where I'm like, oh man, is Tim, and he's known to do this. This isn't, the Zozo House isn't the only place he's done this, but he's known to open himself up to all types of energy and take it. Let's see what you got. Do something. And this goes back to him not giving proper warning, in my opinion, of don't try this at home, don't do this. I feel he should have said, this is stupid and you never should do this if you're dealing with some type of malicious entity, because things can happen. They might be able to take control over you. I don't know. He just opened himself up, and boy, did he pay the price for it, or a couple of people paid the price for it. Like that first night, he was scratched pretty nasty, and they took pictures of it. I'm sure it's posted on his website, livescifi.tv, I believe it is. And they were nasty marks, and looked like he was getting strangled almost. And his facial features looked different. I mean, he already looked exhausted, but this was something else. He just looked bad, man. He didn't look like himself. His personality changed slightly. I mean, it was to the point where, at one point he did this. It was to the point where I thought he was going to slug Darren. I was like, oh man, Darren's going to get punched. He's going to get freaking punched. So I was really concerned about that. But luckily nothing that violent happened. It was just really weird and freaky. Extremely freaky. But Tim, he's known for doing this mess. And I don't think it's very smart. Rose and I, we're new to this paranormal stuff for the most part. We're just getting into it, and we don't investigate. She probably would. I will not. It's like I told Darren, other people can do the field work. I just talk about the stuff. Because I have a perception of being on the outside looking in, I see things that they may not see otherwise. Those who are, in the field and experimenting, putting themselves out there. But at the same time, they're like, you're not being a risk taker. I have to, so I could get something. But I just feel that there are different ways to get evidence, and opening yourself up like that is just not good. Not at all. I mean, just too many things could go wrong. And Tim, again, I don't know if you're listening to this. I don't even know if I exist. I appreciate your work. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people appreciate your work, and, you go beyond what you should do. But, these things, you can only keep them at bay for so long. Holy water will only do so much for so long. You could get a priest in to exercise you. You could do whatever, but eventually that energy, that spiritual energy, is going to stick with you, and you're not going to be able to get rid of it. I mean, these things, yeah, you might be able to take them away shortly, but they have a way of coming back. And I'm truly afraid that if he keeps going the way he is and opening himself up the way he does, they're just going to stick with him and start tormenting him left and right, and he's going to have a freaking nervous breakdown. I'm worried about that. So I do hope that he slows it down some, because it's just too much opening yourself up like that. I was very concerned about Nicole too at one point. Remember how I said it was 2 incidents with that coin Bonnie had? Well, this is the second incident. This got me extremely concerned. So it was Bonnie, Nicole, I think Chloe and Brandon from Machinima. I think they were on the board this time. It might have been someone else. I get them mixed up, and it was very late at night. So my memory is foggy. But they were on the board and they were doing things, and they were joking around and stuff like that. And for those of you who know, like, this investigate, it was serious, but at the same time, you have to have lighthearted moments because you can't allow that dark negative energy to take over. You have to have some type of positive energy flowing, and that's sometimes why at times it would seem like they don't take it as seriously as they should. No, they're taking it seriously, but you have to have that moment of positivity every now and then. So anyway, the board was saying a couple of different things, and it pretty much said it wanted Nicole. Now, I won't lie, she's a cute chick. She seems nice, outspoken, not very timid or shy. I mean, real cool person you'd want to hang out with. Well, something happened to where, like, when they ended that session, she just changed. Like, I saw it, like, right away. She was sitting against the wall, her hands on her knees and stuff like that. And she wasn't speaking, and she just looked very timid and weak, as opposed to what she looked like, very confident and like, I'm gonna own you. And again, I don't know if she's watching or listening to this. I very much doubt it. But that was when I got worried. I don't know these people. Well, I know Darren, but I don't know Tim or Nicole on a personal level. So I don't know how they truly are. I can only go by what I saw. And what I saw with her after that particular Ouija session was her not being her. She was just, like I said, very timid. She was shy. She wasn't speaking. She wasn't outspoken at all like before. Like, they were asking her if she was all right, you okay? And instead of saying, yeah, I'm good, or no, she was just like, yes, almost like a little mouse, just like, don't notice me. And then she said, like, oh, I feel sick, or something like that. And she went up the stairs. And so you can know, all the Ouija sessions took place in the basement. So They went up the stairs, and these aren't the creaky, nasty stairs. These are something else. So she went up the stairs and went outside and everything, and I don't know what happened. It took a while for the cameraman to get up there. But eventually when he's out there, we see her and everything, and she just seems so timid and shy, almost like you're trying not to get noticed by anyone. Like, you have a crush on someone and you're trying not to get noticed by them, and you just like clam up and you try to sneak by. It was almost like that. But unfortunately, she didn't do a very good job of trying not to be noticed and sneaking on by. The camera was on her, everyone was around her. She just wasn't herself. And so they sat down on the stairs and everything, and Bonnie was there, and they were talking to her. And they're like, "Hey, man, you're not yourself. Something is off. You okay?" And Bonnie had the idea, like, take my coin, so you can know it wasn't like a U.S. quarter or 50-cent piece or nothing like that. It was some type of holy coin. I almost want to say it was Saint Bernardino or Saint Benedict's, but I'm not sure. And I can't remember. She did say what it was. That's the problem with the live streams. You can't go back and rewind so you could get the information right. But Bonnie said that she placed it on someone's head before, like their forehead, and when it was like a malicious energy around them, I won't say inside of them, but like just somewhat controlling them, like they started to freak out and mess. They got the coin. They did this to Nicole, and sure enough, she started to freak for a minute. She was backing away from it, and it looked like she was getting ready to start swinging and stuff. But at the same time, she was still timid and afraid. Like, no. It was very, very weird. Never saw anything like that before. I don't think that was the Z entity inside of her or controlling her, whatever. Others may disagree, which is fine, but I personally don't think it was that. I think it was another spirit inside of her that was trying to get out of that house. But it wasn't the Z entity. That thing is different. Like, I just got the feeling of something being very shy, very timid, and just wanted out. I don't even think it was malicious. So when I saw this happening, I messaged Darren like, hey man, is she okay? Like, what's going on? Are you guys crazy? What are you doing? Darren, I am so sorry for the message spam. I know he got so annoyed. And Rose, I'm also sorry for the message spam. I know she got annoyed. And the only reason why Rose isn't doing this thoughts and opinions with me is because she wasn't able to catch a lot of the stream because she was at work, time differences and stuff like that. But yeah, she was at work, and unfortunately she had to miss a huge chunk of it, but she did see some stuff. Luckily, for anyone who missed the 72-hour event or only saw pieces of it, they are going to upload the entire event. So I believe they said they're doing it on the 31st of October. So don't worry, you're still good. But anyway, back to Nicole. Yeah, she was like kind of freaking out and mess. And I messaged Darren. I was like, hey man, is she okay? Dude, like seriously, I'm freaking out. I'm worried for her. And I remember Darren, he was saying a couple of verses and to get whatever it was that had her out. And I know they were doing the holy water thing, and, they were doing their stuff. So they went in prepared. But again, I do wish they would have talked about the tools that they were using to protect themselves and stay prepared and eject things that were unwanted instead of just kind of doing it. But like I said earlier, when you're in the moment, you just don't think about that type of stuff. So hopefully in the future they will. I mean, even if it's not for the investigation, they could do a video showing preparation. That would be really cool, I think. And again, I feel that the viewing audience will be more vested if they do it like that. Luckily, Nicole, she was good eventually, but she didn't get back on the board. I don't blame her. Her energy was like, but I remember her saying towards the end there, like, oh, I feel more like myself now. So that was a relief. I was like, oh man. Anyway, so I'm happy she was all right. Another experience was Tim, and this is why I think whatever entity was in Nicole was different than what was in Tim. I think the Z entity was in Tim on this final night, or did stuff to him, or whatever. Again, I don't know the proper terminology because it's not a full-on possession, and I guess you could say it's partial possession. And then it's like oppression, like that oppressed energy and stuff like that, I suppose you could say. But anyway, on the final night, things got interesting. They're using this board, and Tim, yet again, he opened himself up and like, come to me. It's like, oh, you idiot. I mean, that's what I was thinking. That's the God's honest truth. I don't actually think he's an idiot, but at that moment, I'm just like, you idiot. Why are you doing this? What is wrong with you? Whatever was there, it got him. It got him good. I mean, Tim's dressed up like a clown and mess. It's already freaky enough. I mean, and he even says something of the likes of, man, I think I'm kind of hungry, man. We should go to Mickey D's, get some burgers or something. But I can't go out like a clown. I'd get shot. And he's right. He would. So, of all the things to choose to dress up as. Oh, and shout out to Nicole for doing his makeup and stuff. She did a very good job. Like, she mentioned that. And usually when people mention stuff like that, they want to be recognized for their attempts. So, there you go. Anyway, they're on the board, and he just started to get weird, man. Like, extremely weird. He's over there whispering and smiling, like a creepy smile. I don't know if it was part of the clown act or not. But, eventually it became too much, and he got up, and he left the room and mess. And, they went out to see if he was okay. he just looked so weird. He's smiling and laughing and talking about that dog. It was a dog next door that wouldn't shut up. It's like, that dog, I want to eat the dog. I just want to eat him. I want to eat the dog. I was like, what? This is not China. That's not all right, man. But yeah, it was very bizarre. He just wouldn't stop laughing at some points. Just, and smoking a cigarette, and just very weird. They got back on the board, and actually he wanted to get back on, so he went down to the basement first, and he was sitting down, and Nicole was walking down, and he was smiling at her and pointing like, come on. He wasn't really speaking. He was just very silent. And it's just like, come on. Very weird. He definitely wasn't himself. And that energy, whatever had him, was much different than what had Nicole. This was something that was quite literally clowning around. So eventually they're back on the board. They're doing their thing. And by the way, Darren was using the board this time, which I was shocked. I can't believe he did that. I mean, I called him nuts. It's like, man, you know your history with these things. You know what happens. Like this Z entity, it likes you or dislikes you. I don't know. But that was very risky for him to do. Ballsy, but risky. He got some answers. Like they got very intelligent response answers, along with the occasional, rainbow effect and laughing and all that stuff. But one that freaked me out was the entity that they were speaking to used the name Ball. Things got very heavy and hard because the night before, the board was naming off names, and Bonnie was like, "Oh, those are my ex-husbands," which was kind of funny. And it said something about hung. Fast forward, Tim asked a question if anyone that he knew was pretty much in the not so nice place. I'm not talking about heaven here. And it said yes. And it was like, okay, who? I don't know if he should have asked that, but the board replied, Dan. And that just punched Tim in the face too. He was disturbed, really disturbed, like to the point where I thought he was going to cry. And he said that Dan was a friend of his and he hung himself. And it thought back to when the board said hung and mess like that. And the board said at like 11:11 or 1:11 a.m. and mess like that, it was gonna get them and mess with them or something. At their time zone, it wasn't 1:11 a.m. It was 1:11 a.m. Eastern time. It got them. It was like, wow, that was the heaviest moment out of that entire investigation. I was just like, wow, why would you ask these type of questions and expect a response that will be positive or something? You should know these boards, these entities, they do this to get to you. They want to mess with you. Why would you do that? I mean, it was probably lying. But he should have known better. As someone who's been in the investigation field as long as him and understands these entities, he should have known better. There are just some questions you don't ask. For instance, he asks, when am I going to die? You don't ask that. You just don't. And the board, like, it's funny because it immediately went to no. It went to no so hard. And the interesting thing about that is usually if the entity is malicious and stuff like that, they won't care. They'll tell you. Or they'll give a date, whether it be real or not. I mean, it could be a metaphorical thing. So it went to no. So I don't think that was one of the Z entity that went to no. I think that may have been something guarding over Tim at that time. That's like, nope. He found out that information when it said Dan and stuff. Like, they pretty much got off the board right after that. And he was broken, man. It broke him for that moment. He was out of it. And I felt bad. And it's like, man, it just hit me. Like, this is all real. This is 100% real. You know, I mean, you can compare this to the Ghost Adventures investigation of the Zozo house. And by comparison, I mean in the sense that they all used the Ouija board and got some responses and stuff like that. But the emotion was not there. It wasn't a 72-hour investigation. It wasn't as in-depth as it could have been. It was a lot of things missing out of the Ghost Adventure stuff, which I now see why some people would say, oh, it's fake, even though it's not fake. The stuff is real, but they're on a time constraint. This Tim's investigation, or Livescifi's investigation, this was as real as it got. I mean, people were emotionally all over the place. It was crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I wonder if folks watching are experiencing any type of paranormal thing. Some people said they were. I don't know if I believe them or not. You know, it's kind of hard to judge with people because sometimes they just want that attention. But this was tough. I felt so bad for him, man. Like, and the look on his face, it just dropped. So, and yeah, you could tell by that time, whatever was bothering him, it left. So, but it certainly got the last laugh. Eventually, they took a break to eat for a minute. Tim, he did a ghost box session. And I believe the ghost box is basically a device that allows spirits to use radio waves and frequencies to speak. And he got some responses. And they got on the board one last time. And this was Darren's time to shine. Oh, man, it was freaky. It was indeed freaky. Like, they got intelligent responses, but Darren was just like, oh, man. Like, at one point, the planchette was gone. And Darren, he used his hands to speak. And I mean, that was just one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. I guess this thing was able to control him for a minute. Like, that he started to, like, speak in tongues. You know, at this point, I would have been, no. You know, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't have even stepped foot in that house. You know, I'm sorry. I feel so sorry for the family because they go through that on a daily basis. But I would not have stepped foot in that house at all. My buddy Benny, he's been on the podcast a couple of times. He straight up said, like, man, he would have blew the house up. He just, like, no playing around, man. He would have just blown it up, got some grenades, and just bang. So, yeah, but that was weird, man. And they're like, okay, I think that's it. We need to get Darren back. You think? Like, okay, come on back, Darren. I mean, it was a good place to end it. Just really weird, but luckily Darren came back. He was all good. You know, he didn't exactly have any recollection of him speaking in tongues. I do, because I saw it. It was just, oh, man. But yeah, they got him back right away, so we don't need that stuff. But we did learn quite a bit about the Zozo, and that creature is old. It is old, and according to him, he's not a djinn, and he's not an alien. And he is definitely a demon, not human. And he went by different names back in the day. But it seems to me that right now he's close to his peak. He's not at his peak. I don't believe so. But he's getting close to his peak where he'll be pretty freaking powerful. He claims to be the Antichrist. I don't believe that. But if you guys know me, I'm not the religious type. I don't believe in, too much of that stuff. But it was just very weird and bizarre. And what he was saying, I think it was just to freak everyone out, because he knew he was being watched. I think he even made reference to the chat at one point saying, "Peekaboo, I see you." It's just very creepy. And that's actually part of the reason why I, at first, was not going to watch this live stream, because I know these beings, like, are powerful, and they are able to use electronics to get to places and see things and do things, but at the same time, I think the person has to be open and receptive to it. I am not. Not at all. But it was pretty weird. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I watched as much as I could. I saw everything there was to be seen with the investigation. I saw these people's emotions. I hope everyone takes a very long break from investigating anything with any type of malicious energy, because they deserve it and need it. Tim especially. And like I said, Tim, and I know you've been in this game a long time now, but hopefully you slow it down some, or you're gonna get bit. Like Darren, man, congrats on pretty much facing your fears, going in there, kicking butt, taking names, and coming out unscathed, hopefully. I wouldn't have done it. Like, I commend you for going back in there and trying to help this family out. No, you helped this family out. Because what we didn't see was next day they got in a priest, Effort Cox, and he exorcised the house and blessed the family and all that, getting rid of these entities once and for all. So I hope it worked, because no one needs to be plagued by that. And here's the thing, though. If it did work, where did the entity go now? Makes you wonder. So, anyway, with that said, this event is a must-see for anyone who's familiar with Zozo and everyone who has an interest in the paranormal. And like I said earlier, if you didn't see this, don't worry. It will be uploaded in its entirety, so you'll be able to catch it still. You just have to wait a few more days. I enjoyed it. I know Rose enjoyed parts of it. I learned a lot. I learned some do's and don'ts. I think everyone who was in that investigation is freaking crazy. I would love to get you on the podcast and talk about it, but you're all nuts. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts and opinions. And you know what? I think this might become a regular thing when Tim does a live stream event from a haunted location or something. I think that would be pretty cool, just to get my thoughts and opinions on it. As you can tell, I'm new at this. So I actually had to write everything down that I was going to say, and I still messed up and didn't say certain things, but that's alright. Live and learn. So next one will be better, and hopefully Rose won't be at work, so she'll be able to see it and we can interact with one another. So if you enjoyed it, hey, let us know if you agree with my opinions or disagree, or you saw the event or whatever. Sound off in the comments below. And don't forget to check out Unexplained Possibilities Facebook page and our Twitter, and those links will be in the descriptions. So until then, have a good one, guys.